what I can see here as well is that you have electric heat in there, which is in New Brunswick is very common to have electric heat because if it's not that, it's usually oil furnace, and oil is not getting cheaper, so it's definitely not the most efficient way to heat your place.
Hi there, my name is Lynn.
My name is Martin May. Together, we run New Brunswick Property Deals, where we connect savvy investors, both local and from out of province, to off market properties with amazing cash flowing potential.
So, whether you are a first time homebuyer or an experienced investor, we can find you your next investment property here in New Brunswick.
Just things like that, or even vinyl sidings. Because in Montreal, we're very used to seeing brick,
Yep.
but right now I feel like it's all vinyl, at least in Saint
Yeah,
John.
I like vinyl more than brick too.
We don't even know like which one to choose
Yeah,
or whatever.
we don't know what's the difference
But
between the two, which one is better when it
yeah,
comes to
The brick
material.
will last longer. It's a lot stronger, but it's just the fact that if you ever have to put a window or something like that, or put a new door or a new window or like that, it becomes a bigger project to do. So that's why I don't like brick too much.
mm,
Siding is just like for wood frame and just cut a hole in the wood and just put a window in and then seal it back up and then put the siding back up. It's so much easier to do as a carpenter, right?
yeah,
But it can be done. I mean, I've done brick before too. I just prefer the wood over brick, but yeah, I mean, here there's a lot of siding here, and that's one of the things. Is like in Moncton, we're not like the highest city where there's bigger money involved, right? So basically, lately it's been going nuts, but normally in the regular, like when the market was just steady line for like 10, 12, 20 years, before it went crazy this year and last year. Before it was just steady pay. So basically everybody went with the cheapest, right? The vinyl siding was always the cheapest way to cover your house. A lot of them, they would cover a lot of the old siding with a new siding over it, and then it'd be cheaper to just get right around that. Then you had to work around the windows and doors to have little build-ups and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, brick, the fact is that the mortars lines eventually start cracking, they start leaking, and then it pretty much sucks when the whole wall falls down because it's not attached to the wall and stuff like that. Just some of the old days, you've seen some houses that they don't tie it to the wall, the sheeting, because you're supposed to every 4 feet, you're supposed to tie it to the actual sheeting of the wall so that it doesn't move out. And if it's just a brick going straight up and then eventually they start getting loose, well, they can then eventually all fall off, right? Because they're not attached to the house. So there's some of that going on. Not too many of those, but there are some out there like that. And that's one thing that bricklaying is a big cost, right? It's not cheap to do brick, right? So
that's
concrete's
interesting.
gone up quite a bit in the last 10 years. So
Yeah, we heard that Saint John is it's a lot of moisture and obviously it's right by the port, so maybe that's why at least in Uptown Saint John it's mostly vinyl, as far as I know.
and it's old in
That's
St.
all right.
John
Yeah.
because it's one of the first places they set up a port for Canada when they first boarded from Europe, right? So St. John's a very old city, so you got some old plumbing that I've never even seen here in Moncton. So you guys got different things that are up there that scares me. That's why I stay away from that market because I've once seen a couple of 9 units, 8 units for a couple of investors I had here in Moncton that wanted to do some flipping over there, and I went to look at it and I said, I can't price this. This has got to go through permits and all that stuff. There's just no fire code separation. There's no fire alarms. There's nothing like that, right? So I wanted to go with an actual engineer, actual project management company that was in the local area. And when they came up like $500,000 to do the renovation on the $70,000 building that we just bought, the building is 70K no more.
Yeah,
And it's the street parking. There's not much street parking. This is all on hills, right? So you got all these parking at weird spots. So if you have to put a dumpster on the site, you got to have a special permit for that stuff and that. So that's what scared me with St. John. That's why I stayed away from it.
totally different.
There's a good area of St. John, though. If you stay away from the older sector and you go to the newer sectors, then you got better areas, right? It's like anywhere else. If it's new, much built more new, it's more up to date, more up to code. I find that you get better product properties that you would have versus the 400-year-old buildings, right?
Oh, so that's definitely interesting. Cool. So we jumped ahead there, but why don't we talk a little bit about yourself? So like yeah, so we have like Daniel LeBlanc here, a local contractor local to Moncton, and Daniel
Yes.
is also a council member of Casual Tribes, and he has been helping a lot of investors both locally and also from out of province with their investment properties here in Moncton. So definitely very lucky to have Daniel
Yeah,
here on the
definitely.
call.
I
Let's
hope I
let
can be of
Daniel.
value for you guys.
Yeah. So why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit and just your background and also what led you to doing what you're doing today?
Okay. Well, my name is Daniel LeBlanc. I come from a three generations of carpentry. Basically, it's all I know. And that's what got me into real estate from the get-go. I started off as a labor worker, working for my parents and my dad and whatnot. And I learned this trades as I went forward. I did that from basically being a laborer all the way to carpenter's helper, carpenter to foreman to project manager to being my own business. So I did the hard path, long path to get to my career, but I find there's a lot of value in that because I know every aspect of the business when it comes to construction. And basically, I started investing in real estate in 2004. Did my first flip, was successful with it. In 2 months, I made $47,000 on it. So that kind of made me like, yes, I'm on the right track, right? And then I did a second one and the third one, and the third one I lost on it. So that wasn't so good. So I had my first taste of a loss. And then I went back to the States and I started investing in the States. And I went to Costa Rica. That was a scam, but I did get caught with that. But it was a good experience all the same. And then when the recession hit in 2008, 2007, whatever that era there in the States, then I came back to Canada because there was no more work down there. So I came back to Canada and I started back investing into properties because what I lost in the States was land. So now I'm going back into the properties where I can rent them. So if the market does crash, you're not stuck with a property where you got to pay out of pocket. So at least the rentals can keep it up and save it. So that's me being a little bit smarter with that now. So if I don't do flips, I do usually flip. And if I can't sell it, then I keep them and I rent them. That's what I prefer doing. That way it keeps me out of at least they pay itself by somebody else, not me. So that's another way to get around the crash. If you ever get in the crash, it's nice to have some rental properties that kind of protect you. That was my hardcore lesson learned on that one. And I've been in Moncton back since 2007, 8 ish, around those years anyway. I was back in Canada and I started back doing some investment here. I went back to work as a carpenter by the hour and making the big money in the States. Well, it was like kind of hard to stay working at the hour wages they were making here. So I went back to being a contractor. And then from that point on, I started back investing in real estate. And ever since then, I've been kind of going that direction. As a contractor, I ended up doing some homeowner jobs. I've did some insurance company jobs. I've done also contractors where I was a sub. So I got a lot of experience through that stuff there. And then basically now I'm just flipping basically for investors for the last 4 years. And that's basically my main source of work for construction was investors. And I believe this is the best course that I've ever chosen to get into, being with investors, because investors, they are relational, right? They do more than one deal, right? They'll do multiple deals and basically they just keep coming up with more houses that I got to go fix with them. And they don't compete with other contractors and trying to lowball our numbers. It's the numbers. They like your work. They keep up with, yeah, right. I find my career has been so much better since I've been working with investors. So I'm sticking that way and nothing's changing anymore. I'm not doing homeowners no more. I don't like working in houses where people still live in them because that's where I lose a lot of time and there's a lot more drama. So I just want to avoid all that because it's the same money by doing flips for investors than it is for homeowners. So it's all the same money, right? So I want to have my job a lot easier for the same money than having it a lot harder than with the same money. So I've chosen to go that direction. And since then, well, I joined Cashflow Tribe last year in March. So it's been a year. I'm on Cashflow Tribe now. I went through every channel they had. I'm all the way up to council now. And for those that are not in council, I highly suggest that you give it a shot. I think it's a very good place to be around like-minded people where everybody works together. I find that's the bonus that you have with them because if some of them have money, some of them have businesses, some already like there's all walks of life that all work together to help each other out. And I think it's a great atmosphere if you want to get into. It does cost a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, if you're moving faster, growing your business and you make the money anyways, it doesn't really matter, right? So like my first council, I did it with one deal and I paid that back off, right? So it's not the end of the world. There are great people that sponsored me to get in there because I didn't have the cash up front. So I got it that way and I got in. And ever since I've been in there, I'm like hooked. I'm like, this is my new addiction is cash flow tribe and council. I'm just hooked to it.
Oh, you're so active. You're always,
And the
always doing something.
community is just so wonderful. Like yourselves, I would have never met you guys if I wouldn't have been on Cash Flow Tribe, right? So I keep meeting people like you guys, and it's such a pleasure to be part of it, right? And then there's just more people coming in, and it's making a great network. And I just sold one of my properties with Kelly, another council member, and basically we've made some great hits when we did that. So we advertised that we did it and how much we did, and the realtor got a lot of recognition. Next thing you know, that realtor is gaining a lot of our community coming to him because of us. So now he's working around the clock to make sure that he keeps us going. So that's another power team player that we have in our team now that I didn't have before. I had realtors before, but none like in this caliber, right? It's great.
Yeah.
So the power team keeps growing. Never stop growing your power team. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just expanding my contracting so I can handle more work at the same time, so that can be a better service to many other investors. And at the same time, I'm looking to see every investor I work with make money. That's my goal, right?
Love
So
it. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I mean,
yeah,
uh, ever since we started promoting on cash flow tribes as well, a lot of people have reached out, expressing their interest, investing in Moncton, doing either buy and hold or doing flips. So I'm sure there will be more than willing to like reach out to you because you're a valuable team member to have. So
and I love to help. So
yeah,
whenever I can help you guys, let me know. I'm there to help.
so in terms of Moncton, looking at the Moncton real estate market for you as a contractor and investor, you've been there since 2007. How do
I've
you
been
make
here since
sense of the
'92.
boom recently?
Yeah, I've been in construction since '92, since I graduated, and I was doing construction a little before that when I was in high school too. So being in the family in the business, so I've been since '92, really, since I started working my first job with the first paycheck.
Uh,
So, but yeah, for Moncton, so the question is basically, what was the question again? So I'm sorry, I just
Do you
got
make
blabbering
sense?
away.
Just how do you make sense of everything that's happening right now in the market and Mountain's market?
with
Like,
the
Okay.
demand, you know.
Okay, yeah. So the Moncton market right now in the last 2 years, it's gone crazy. I've never seen the market like this before. The whole time I've been doing this investing in construction, we had a big construction boom back a few years back. We had it for like 10 years. We had a good boom. Then it slowed down back for like 5, 7 years. And then all of a sudden it came back this year and it's came stronger than we have ever seen. I've never seen houses go up so quick. Like just for an example, I have a rental property right now that I had it appraised in October. It was appraised at 215, and I just finished asking my realtor just recently how much I could sell it for now, and he said it was 275. So in 60 grand upgrade, just in a matter of what, 4 or 5 months, like that's a huge jump for Moncton. Like we never seen that before. Um, before we were a lot locked in at around the 100 to 130 for renovations, and we could get something done for about 170, 180. We could turn it around. Now it's like 170, 180 is the lowest mark for anything you want to fix, and it can go all the way up to 250, 300K now. So that's it. Just in 2 years, that's what we're seeing. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because there is more growth. It's going too fast as far as I'm concerned, because the city's never seen this kind of growth. And I think that what's going to happen is that a lot of the jobs that we have here in Moncton, I don't think that they're going to be able to support that kind of inflation. That's like, it's all right to go up as it goes gradually, but the way it's going so fast, I just don't know how. Like a brand new house back 4 years ago was about 250, 260 to build, brand new, just a small bungalow, nothing big, but just something that's new, is brand new. Nowadays, the same type of homes, they're starting at 490 to 500K. It's because of the cost of materials, right? The materials went straight up, and the cost of labor is starting to go up as well with it, because the cost of living is getting crazy now. I can see minimum wage going up again. So if that goes up again, I can see a lot of the basically a lot of the groceries and gas and a lot of the stuff that we're used to, like for minimum wage, is just going to raise the price again on everything. So I don't know how much more of that we can keep taking. But right now, we're, as investors, we are taking advantage of the market, and so I'm going to put that house for sale, because that's a huge income for me for that, to sell that house. And while it's still good, because it might not be as good next year, but nobody knows, right? If we all had the crystal ball, we'd be all billionaires right now, because we know exactly what to do, right? But no, the market has extinct. Like right now, my father works for a big company, construction company called Amico Construction. They're a project managing company where they built multi-units. So right now we have a lot of the 160, 120 units going up like crazy in Moncton. We just went through like maybe 15 in the last year and a half. So, and there's still six more coming. So it's just not stopping. Like and that's causing troubles right now with materials because it's going too fast. Like there's too many, like the big builders are building a lot right now in Moncton because they know it's coming. There's something they're seeing that I'm not seeing because they just keep building and building and building. And right now we had one guy, another investor that's pretty big here in Moncton. His name is Guy Bouchard, and he's huge. And I just heard from my sub trades that work at one of his projects that one of his building last year cost him, I believe, it's 6 million to build it. This year for the same building to build it right now, it's 9 million. So it's going up fast for just a different cost of materials, right? So there's a lot of things happening. So it's definitely growing here. And the way they're talking to realtors are saying right now it's like 4 to 5 years before it stops again. So if we go by what they say, we're still good for a while here. And I just don't know how people are going to afford to live here, but because the jobs are not like we're more of a call center area. So basically they're like $15, $16 an hour guys, like minimum wage is $12 here. It's actually less than that, it's 11 something. But they're talking to bringing it to 15. If they bring it to 15, that's going to help a little bit, but they're going to have to do something like that to adjust for it's going to take three families to live in one house, right? It's there's only so much money you can afford. So right now, what we're having right now here in Moncton is that we're having a lot of people from Montreal and Ontario and basically BC are coming here to buy. And we also have a lot of the immigration coming as well. So that's where the population is all coming in right now. And because of COVID, it's slowed down the immigration. So if they ever clear up this COVID thing, I think it's just going to keep going crazier afterwards because it's going to keep flooding in more and more because they're already behind, right? So I think that's why the big developers here in Moncton are building all these new buildings. I think that's why we're heading in that direction. I think that's why investors are jumping in right now to take advantage of the market because I see people paying more than asking price for rundown buildings. I just don't know how they're gathering their numbers, but they're making it work. So Riverview's more the English side of the city, and then Dieppe's more the French side of cities. They're mixed cultures, though. They're not just specific one language, but they are mostly on the general population. That's what they have in these areas. Moncton, you've got a little bit of both, more English than French, but basically there's a lot more rundown areas in Moncton versus Riverview and Dieppe. So if you be careful where you do invest in Moncton, there are some good areas, there are some bad areas, like any other city, right? We do have the North End in Moncton. That's it's booming like crazy in that area right now because what's happening right now is the immigrants are mostly all going in that area. So I think that's why they're buying like crazy. Like you buy something there, next day it's pretty much sold. It's going real quick and it's high numbers. Like before a semi-detached, you'd probably pay 120, 130K for a semi-detached. Now they're paying 210 for a semi-detached. Like it's insane. Like I'm not like I've been doing this for a while. I've never seen it like this. Like it's just going crazy. It's like the one we just did with Kelly. We did that one there. We had an ARV of 210. We bought it at 130. We put 42,000 or so, something like that, or 44, something like that. But anyways, we put a few bucks in it, knowing that the ARV was only 210. And then once we seen the realtor, we said, okay, how much can we get with this place? And he came up to us, oh, I can sell this for 275. Really? Okay, this is good. So I'm like, all right, so we'll play with that. Next thing you know, we put it in the market. 4 hours later, we had an accepted offer of $5,000 over.
Wow.
You tell me. So we're all shocked by that. So we're taking it with stride, but it was a good sale and we all made money on that one. So it just shows you how fast things can change, right? Like the ARV, like ARVs right now, all the realtors are having a hard time with that because the prices are changing so fast that they can't keep with the comps. Like the comps are not accurate anymore. Same with appraisals. Appraisals, the same thing. They'll give you an appraiser by what they know, but at the end of the day, even if they come up with I don't know, 170 for an appraisal, you could probably still sell that property for 220 to 240, you know what I mean, easily. Like the appraisals are only good for the banks, and they just screw everything up for the banks, really. So I think that's the that's a downside of that. But at the end of the day, the comps are actually working with the realtors, and I find that they get quicker sales and you get more money, and it's amazing. Like even they come with comps that come like maybe 210, 220, but when you put it for sale, it's like you get the 270, 280. So it's, again, for us, $280,000 10 years ago, that was like a mansion. It was like a beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Now you're getting it like just basic houses, and you're getting that price, right? So it's just, it's like they teach us in Cash Flow Tribe. We just got to learn with the market and pivot with the market, right? So that's what we keep doing.
well, you already kind of touched on the different neighborhoods, but obviously in Central Moncton, we're targeting a lot of young professionals, students, hospital workers, and call center workers. Whereas
Yeah.
the north is a lot more family friendly. We're seeing a lot of semi-detached buildings that are a lot newer. So
Yeah.
would you, would you characterize some of the common problems with different neighborhoods when it comes to building? Is there any common problems that are, common to neighborhoods?
There's not too many things that are different. It all depends on, like, now there's a lot of things that change in the code. Like if the buildings are too close to one another, before they could go with vinyl siding, now they can't, because they got to have this fire separation. So they got to put some non-combustible materials on the outside when the buildings are too close to one another. So that's been enforced now. Um, if you're in the areas around the hospital and university, and basically like downtown, like right down Main Street where all the big commercial buildings are at, if you're in those areas there, you've got a good chance of doing very well. But there's still older homes when you go downtown Moncton, because that's where the oldest parts of Moncton is. So if you do get into century homes, you just gotta, it's like any other big city though, really. You have to worry about knob and tube, you have to worry about aluminum wiring, you have to worry about asbestos, poor windows where they're not egress, and they're not basically weather sealed, like with argon and all that stuff, right? So they're not, so you got to be prepared to change some windows, you got to be prepared to change some siding, and just make sure that the siding's not going to be cheap vinyl anymore. They're going to make you pay for more, like materials that cost more. And right now with shortages, it's already doubled on pricing on most of the materials. So be prepared for some major budgets when you do renovations now, especially if you do that. And then you got your older century homes that some of them have been fixed. So if you buy one like that, that's already been updated, if you got new wiring, new plumbing already put into them and stuff like that, then you got to be asking a little bit more for it. But if that's just cosmetic flips, then you can go forward and do that if you want. But if you got something that's really run down, just be ready to, like, with foundation issues, roof issues, structural issues. Back in the century homes, it wasn't built like today, where a wall, the floor sits on top of a wall. It was what they call a balloon frame. So if it's a balloon frame, that means the floor is attached to the wall. It's not sitting on top of the wall. So that's why you usually see those more crooked. And if you have to fix that, that can be a very costly job. So you got to be prepared for that stuff. Just make sure that if you do see something old, check the foundation. If it's a stone foundation, chances are that it's pretty darn old, and there's probably rats coming in, and there's holes everywhere, and it's not a dry basement. And to do conversion with those, it's not the best. If you got concrete foundation, those are better. If you have blocks, cinder block foundations, those are mostly the ones going to be failing at some point. They're going to crack and they start caving in. That was a poor design, whoever came up with that kind of foundation, but it was a cheap way back in the days. And, because when you come back from World War II, we had a big recession at that time. And then when that happened, there's a lot of people that chose the cheap way to do, because nobody had money back then. So they did what they did to survive. So I don't hold it against them. It's just that it's making it hard for investors today to get into these older homes where you got to bring it back to code, right? There are different eras, different generations in homes. So that makes a huge difference. Me personally, I prefer buying properties over 1960 and newer, because they're built with new building codes. You know what I mean? You might still have 2x4 outside construction versus 2x6 for the insulation, right? So, but they're still built the way they're built today, right? So you're starting to get a better product. There's less chance of getting knob and tube. Actually, there's no chance to get knob and tube in 1960. Then you got back the aluminum wire, and they went up to the 70s. So you got to be careful from 60s to 70s in the homes for the aluminum wiring. They might have cheated some after that, people, because aluminum's cheaper than copper, right? So they might have still cheated, but they're not the ones that pulled permits. It's the ones that usually do their own work and they try to save money and they just make it worse for properties. I found most properties, most problems that you get for properties because homeowners try to do their own work because they think they can do it and they just butcher their houses.
Right?
Yeah, like I had a story where I had a house before when they went and they cut the beam because they want to make a pass through. And when they cut the beam, they left like maybe 1 inch of wood on top of it. And it was like a 10-foot span, 12-foot span, something like that. And they didn't notice it right away when they cut it. They noticed that it starts sagging a little bit, but they just, they thought they built another wall around the other ends of both sides of the beam. But what happened is that the two-story home started imploding downwards towards the basement.
Wow.
So that whole house was destroyed because everything caved in. They
Right.
were lucky they weren't in the house when it happened, right?
Right.
So destroying the structural beam wall or a bearing wall is not a smart idea.
Definitely.
A lot of weight there, right? So there's just things that homeowners do that they don't know that how it actually works, right? It's not just putting a 2x4 together and putting a nail to it and it's going to hold together, right? There's a lot more science behind what the construction trade does. So we see a lot of those properties. Even the newer ones, you'll see that homeowners try to do their own thing. They don't frame the walls right. They're all crooked. And, you're trying to put drywall on the wall that's got a stud that's going like this, and the other one's further up, and the other one's further back. Well, it's going to make a wavy wall, right? So there's a lot of that going on here in Moncton, but I think it's not just Moncton. I think it's pretty much anywhere because I just had some of those in the States too. So it's not just. So there's a lot of that stuff you got to look out for. I mean, just be careful with anything with plaster is usually older, so you got to be let's prepare for plaster. Is a lot more labor intense to do demo for than if it was just drywall or paneling, right? So these are other things you got to look out for. Electrical, make sure that you have, like on the older homes, you'll see there's only 2 prongs on the plugs. That means most of the wiring doesn't have grounds. So today that's affecting some of the electrical stuff in today's world. Um, Asbestos, you'll see it mostly in siding, into insulation, duct ventilation pipes. So make sure to look for that if you do see it. The tiles of floors used to be asbestos as well, the 9-inch by 9-inch, they're black. If you see those are usually a bad sign.
Mm.
Now, these things are not bad if not disturbed, but the minute you disturb them, that's when it gets poisonous, right? You got these spores going in the air and this whatnot. So when I first started construction, I was doing university jobs and stuff like that. And there's a lot of asbestos in them. And back then it wasn't a big thing. I used to just go away and smash away in asbestos all day long. And
Oh
my
man.
teeth were black because of you know what I mean? Like I was pretty much eating this stuff. It didn't kill me yet, so I'm still healthy. So, so it's not the end of the world, but then they realized it was doing some lungs issues, right? So then they start making a big thing about it, right? But again, if it's not disturbed, it's not going to hurt anybody. But it's just that people see asbestos and mold and they all panic, right? They all think it's a big, oh no, that's bad. It's going to cost us $1 million to fix this house, but most times it's only a couple $1,000 and you can have it fixed. I mean, if it's insulation in the attic, sometimes you can have that rechanged back for some $8,000, depending on how big the house is, right? So
Sure.
it's just that people like overreact sometimes with that when they get the inspection report when an inspector, and so this is
So I guess like the best way for out of province investors to get a good feeling of the house will be through an inspection, right? Like that would be probably those.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you can have, it's nice to do virtual, but it's still nice to have someone go out there and actually look at the property physically because pictures can be deceiving. I've seen a lot of properties where I love the pictures when I see it. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get this one. The price is great. And when I actually get there, it's like, oh my God, you don't really see that in pictures. Like when you really look up close and it's like, oh my God, look at the floors. Like, well, like didn't really catch that on the picture. And the wiring, you can't tell the wiring from pictures. You can't tell. There's a lot of things that you miss just by pictures, right? Even that Matterport you guys did is great to look. You can see the layout. You can see where you're going. I think that's fantastic. But if you don't go and see the physical property yourself, there could be some other things that you can't see, right? And when you get to another project, you also got to know also whether you're going to go like with a hack, which would be non-conforming versus a legalized. Just prepare to pay almost double what you would pay for an unlegal to legal, because there's a lot more things with engineers and drawings and basically permits and all that stuff. So that's a whole new job that can take time to do a project. Just like that anywhere. It's like anywhere, whether it be Ontario or BC or New Brunswick, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
Yeah, why don't we take the time to actually walk through, for example, a single family conversion. So I have shared with you, a project that we came across. It's in here. I'm going to share the screen here.
Okay.
Easier. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's in Hillsborough, part of well, it was on Hillsborough Road. It's in Riverview. So essentially, I checked with the zoning map. With Riverview, it's R2 zoning, so it's in the duplex zoning. However, the current owner has been treating it as a single family. I also checked with the tax department too. It's been assessed as a single family as well.
Service New Brunswick, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the property. We kind of walk through it together. So yeah, as you can see, this is the other entrance. So for a project like this, if our investor wants to take this on and treat it as a duplex, what would be, the steps that they'll have to take in New Brunswick?
Okay. So if you want to do a legal duplex here, now what you would have probably here from what I can see is that you got drywall, new plastering going on, like mud and whatever, taping. You got your floors that are like old hardwood floors and they're all run down. So you pretty much want to cover that. You got linoleum in there in that kitchen that used to be a kitchen at some point. And basically they put a beam there to open up that area. So it's not an open concept now. So now they got that beam holding that bearing there. It looks like great for a regular house, right? Like you got all the regular drywall and everything like that. It looks normal. Looks like it's perfect for a flip. He's done some work to it. He's at the finishing stage now. He's got all the rough-in stuff done. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, you told me that we had new electrical, new plumbing done from that contractor. So if you have that part done, that means everything behind drywall, we're at that stage now. We're just at the finish stage. The rough stage is over. The rough stage is usually from framing to wiring, plumbing, ventilation, insulation. And then you get the drywall, that's the rough stage. And from drywall to the rest of the stuff finishing, that's usually finished stage. That's the flooring, trim, doors, cabinets, new plumbing fixtures and new light fixtures, stuff like that. It's just like good decor stuff. What I can see here as well is that you have electric heat in there, which is in New Brunswick is very common to have electric heat, because if it's not that, it's usually oil furnace. And oil is not getting cheaper, so it's definitely not the most efficient way to heat your place. Now, if you have a heat pump, like basically a hot water system, basically just boils water and it just goes through like a heater registers that run water through them. It's hot water. That's what you heat it. That's the most efficient one there is. At least that's what they keep telling me. Me personally, I like to do the electrical heating myself. It's a lot more or less costly to do renovations with. So I usually choose that direction. If there's already a water system in place, I usually take it out because it's usually run down. The cabinets of the heatings are all damaged usually. So I just take it out, take the copper, use the copper. I make cash in. I take that by the peck. So that's kind of puts all new plumbing and it's all paid off with the copper. So it's kind of works out that way. Still got to pay for the labor, but at least that parts can be done. I've done that with a few of my flips. And basically, if you were to convert that to a legal duplex now where there's no separation, like if it's one area where it's all like in one side of the unit, and then you have another unit beside, like that seems like two entrances right there. So they had one going upstairs for an apartment upstairs, and the other door was probably for the down, like the main area. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
So if that was the case, you would have to put a wall to separate between those two doors so they can separate the stairs from the lower area. Now, in that area where the stairs are at, that will have to be required to be fire rated. So fire rating means I would have to be at least 2 layers of 5/8 drywall on each side of the wall. So that way here, the fire takes a lot longer to go to the next floor. If you're doing an apartment upstairs, an apartment on the main level, the whole ceiling of that area would have to be fire rated. So that means you'd have to open up the ceilings. You have to put insulation. The rock salt is the most required for fire rating. And then you got to put your RC channels, which is resilient channels. So we got to put these in there so that kills on the sound. And then you put 2 layers of 5/8 on the ceilings. If he hasn't done that, that's what we consider a hack. It's just 1/2 inch drywall. If that's the case, and also any bearing wall, any post or any bearing wall that holds the whole floor up, these walls or posts have to be double 5/8 as well. It has to be fire separated as well. So that's where the cost comes more into drywall. But at the end of the day, if you can get a duplex and get more cash flow, sometimes it's worth doing it. Sometimes it's not. It depends on how much you paid for the property, how much you have for your renovation budget. Um, so if you were to separate all that there, then you got to worry about electrical as well. The electrical cannot be sharing both units. So you might have to redo some wiring to make sure that the separation of both units is done legally, because you got to have all the wiring for upstairs separate from the wiring that's on the main level, because you cannot have you can't have the power shared for both units unless you put it all into one bill. So if you do your rentals, you have to be putting the power included in the rent if you do it. But have everything separated. If you're at that stage of the renovations, it's the best time to do it. So you want to do it then, because once you do all the painting and all the new furniture and all the new drywall, the new floors, the new cabinets, everything like that, you don't want to start tearing stuff apart to do it again, right?
No.
So you definitely want to plan ahead and spend a little bit more in the front, then lose a little less at the end. Because if you save money in the front, you'll be spending a lot more money on the long run. So you don't want that.
Okay.
So, but basically, if you're doing a legal conversion, you definitely got to pull a permit for that. They won't allow you to do a duplex legal. You can do the hack and non-traditional. They're the, what do you call that? The non-conversion. Like it'd be basically, it's not legal. It won't be a legal apartment. If you're doing that like that, when you end up selling your property again, what will happen is that you won't be able to sell it as a duplex. You'll have to sell it as a single dwelling, and you won't get as much for the property as if you would have it a duplex, right?
Right.
Another thing too, if you have rentals in there and it's not a conforming duplex, what can happen is the insurance can be a problem. So let's say a fire took place and both families got their stuff removed and destroyed or whatever during the fire, and you don't have the proper fire separation in place, the insurance might not cover. So that's another thing, and if someone gets killed, I heard, I never had that happen to me yet, but if it did happen, I heard that basically if that happens, that you can even go for charges of manslaughter.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful about that kind of stuff too, right? So that's another thing with rules. That's why we have regulations and permits and all that stuff to pull out to do legal conversions. That's why they cost so much more money, because you got to get an architect involved, you got to get drawings, you got to get that drawing certified with an engineer, and then back with the town hall. That can take months. Like you can start this project and you're still not starting right off day one. It might take a few months before you get started. You might be lucky in 3 weeks, but chances are it's never just cold, like just do a drawing and it's done, we do it and it's finished like that. There's always more questions and more back and forth, going back and forth to adjust things. And just the city will definitely cover their butts for things to go wrong, right? Because they already had that in the past where they allowed a lot of things to happen, like asbestos and all these other bad stuff they allowed in the buildings, and now people are stuck paying to get these things fixed, and the city's not getting involved, but they're getting a lot of grief for that, right? So now they're trying to make everything within the building code to make sure that everything's up to date and what's not. And they want their cut of the deal, like everybody else, like realtor, broker, insurance. Everybody wants a deal of the pie when they get to a new real estate, right? So there's so many people involved, and the city town hall is no different. They still want their piece of the pie of money for the property as well, right? So
Yeah. Well, for this particular property that we just talked about, it happened to be in R2 zoning, so it's already in the proper zoning. However, if we come across properties, for our investors are not in a legal duplex zoning, is it like, have you done any permit to convert the zoning to R2? Like, is that sure?
if it's not an R2 zone, the only thing you can do is an in-law suite, and that's got to be at, I believe it's like 35%. Oh, 60%. I think it's 60% or 70% of the square footage size. So there's a limit of how big you can do the in-law suite, and there's also separation. There's not fire separation, but they do have sound and sound and smoke separation. So basically, you still have to do that. It costs almost as much as fire rating ones, but at least you can still do it in R1 zone. Duplexes, like you just mentioned on your property there on Hillsborough, you'd said that it was before it was a legal duplex, right? So they will accept the 1/2-inch drywall like it was before, until you start opening walls.
Got it.
Now, the minute you start opening something up, you get it back to the studs, they will want it back to code.
Yeah.
Whether it's an R2 from the, like what they call grandfather clause, even if it's in there, if you touch it and you start doing renovations to it, they will make you bring it back to code, to today's codes. If you just leave it the way it is and you just do a cosmetic to it, like you just paint it, you just put new flooring and just put new cabinets or whatever, you don't change anything else, they'll allow you to still do the duplex, legal duplex without the fire separation. Now explain that to me. I don't know why they accept it the one way, they don't accept the other way, because it's still going to burn whatever it's, if it's, you know what I mean? It is what it is. That this fire separation is just to slow down the fire so that the fire department can get there fast enough to put it to stop before the whole building burns down, right? But sometimes even when that happens, if it's the lower level and it happens there and the structure is infected, whether you save the fire upstairs or not, it's still going to be putting the whole house in jeopardy, right? So you still have to redo it, almost everything again. So uh, again, I could go back and forth with town hall and what they want for permits, but that's why most people don't like pulling permits, is because they make you do things that are a little overkill. But it is what it is. You know, we live in with their municipalities, so we have to do whatever they want us to do. And we can argue with them until we're blue and we'll still not get their way. Whether they're wrong or right, it don't matter. You can't argue with an inspector. They'll tell you what it is and you better do it. If not, they'll shut down the job. I had that happen to me twice, so it sucks. And then I gotta go back, get drawings and do that. It takes a little time. They'll reinstate the job again, but they want you to pull that permit. But the legal conversion will probably take, if a regular non-conversion can probably take between 2 months to 3 months to do. But if you're going to be going with the legal conversion, you might as well double that time. It's going to be more like 5 to 6 months before it's done.
Got
And that's by having a proper team in place. If you don't have your proper team in place, like you got your subs all lined up to be one after the other, it's definitely going to be a nightmare. And that's something that I still go through today. You can have the perfect team in place, but sometimes people can't show up because they're too busy at other jobs. And right now we're having a lot of that issue going on. But you still try to pivot and try to find ways to do it. So right now I got all my subs coming in, and if they can't show up, and I step in my crew and I just get into filling the holes, right? So that's one way I can kind of guarantee the project in time. There's always like going to be setbacks no matter what. Like materials right now are starting to do setbacks on projects, so that's something like I've been waiting since September for a set of appliances from Leon's, and I still didn't get it until today. Like it's a pain in the butt, right? And it's something a contractor has no control over. Like nobody can control that. That's the market. That's what's going on right now for materials. And if you don't have it, you don't have it, right? Like I just went to this weekend. I was doing another project for another investor of mine that's in Cashville Tribe. A very, very pleasant guy to work with. Same with him. Like we had to do a new tub, and it's like I had to go get some ABS pipe for the drains for the tub. And sure enough, I went to 3 stores to get it, because the first 2 stores didn't have any in stock. So when I got to the third one, what I did is I just needed one. I ended up buying a dozen. I bought whatever they had left in the store. So I just stocked up and I put it in my garage, and I just keep it for my next project because I know I'm going to need more of that, right?
Good call, yeah.
So it's nice to have extra cash so that you can actually go and stock up on some materials that they're going to be short, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, no, like
definitely a problem we're going through right now, and we're not even summer yet in prime time season. So what's going to happen at prime time season, I don't know. Again, it's like they teach us on Cashflow Tribe. The more prepared you are, the more you can go around it, right? So I'm doing my part right now. That's why I'm super busy these days. I'm just trying to find materials that I usually had always on like that, and now it's like I got to go looking around. So it's taking a lot more of my time now to go do that stuff. But once I get my backups, vendors, and suppliers, then I can probably calm down again and keep more informed. But there's certain things I'll have to stock up. Like same with bathtubs. Bathtubs right now are being a pain in the butt to get. I had this 4-piece I usually put on mine's acrylics around $900. It's a great retrofit to put in, and it makes it look brand new, and it's nice and solid and secure. And basically right now they're not in stock. Right now MCO is a big company here that's a wholesaler for and Birds and Stairs are also, they're big wholesalers for plumbing. I went to them, and right now they have like 800 bathtubs on back order, like the 1-piece tubs. They can't get them. Like apartment buildings are being built right now. They can't even get appliances to rent the apartments right now. That's another issue that's going on right now. These big builders, they're trying to buy everything from the market, and the suppliers can't do that because they still got to keep so much for the general population, right? So there's a lot of issues with that. So a lot of the bigger builders, like like I said, he's backing down from his 200 buildings he was supposed to build. He's going to wait a couple of years before he builds them again. Now he's just going to wait till this cools off a bit. So they're starting to come up with that kind of strategy now, because it's not that they don't have the ability to build. It's just the fact that the materials are starting to be a big problem. And if you're doing turnarounds like in multi-units, like 120 units, 160 units, there's a lot of kitchens and bathrooms, right? So you start missing out on these materials, and it's like the whole building's finished and you can't rent it because you got no appliances in it. That's really a big problem for these big developers to have, right?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, so obviously you're a busy guy. You have ability to manage many projects happening at the same time. But if our investors were, they want to do a project with you, could you just explain your process and exactly how you can make their investments, truly passive and manage their renovations remotely?
Yeah. So basically what we do is that first of all, we got to get a house on contract. That's how I've been doing my work with investors now. I don't like do homeowners or construction or insurance companies anymore. So by doing with investors is the fact that they are locking properties up. It takes time before we get to closing, before we get the conditions met and all that stuff. So we do have time before we actually get the closing day and where we get the keys, right? So what I'm doing right now is whoever comes along, like the project on Maple that you guys met me at, that one there, it's not closed yet and still in process, but I already got the architects in place and get the drawing started so we can save a little bit more time on that.
Nice.
And basically that's going to help us save time for the investors so we can move forward. As the properties come along, I take along with them and we plan ahead, and I usually do my walkthroughs. I actually retired my hammer, so I'm not swinging a hammer no more. So now I'm just a guy that goes around looking at properties, make sure that the guys got everything they need, and to make sure that if I need to hire more people, I line it up. I get more contractors, more sub trades in. So basically, I get all that, so I get more time for myself to work with the investors. This is my part of scaling. As in council, they're teaching us how to scale and grow our business to become actual business, not just a regular hobby and in holding properties like one at a time, like I used to do, because I used to be a hobbyist myself. And now I'm actually scaling my business to combine both my hobby and my construction contracting into one to make it into a business to scale into that world of flipping. So basically, with that said, is that I'm trying to basically just make sure I can control every project that's coming. And by controlling the subs, I can control the people to be at a certain job so that every project can go ahead. Like the demo can start while they're doing drywall in our project, while another project's doing finish work. They're not the same guys, so they're different people working different times. That way here I can manage more of their time. So that way here I'll be able to manage like 10 jobs at once if I have to. And there's some projects that, if they're really bad, if they talk to me before buying it, I will tell them that I don't even want nothing to do with that project. It's just too much work, right? So at the same time, it might be good for the investor to back down from that deal. I hope I don't have to do that too often with wholesalers, because I don't want to do that to them. But at the same time, we don't want to ruin our name over one house. There's always more properties we can give to that investor, right? So if it's a really bad house, it's best for everybody just to let it go and just move on. Because if the investor doesn't make money on that project, we're just going to ruin our name and we're not going to be able to sell anything we have afterwards, right? So it's very important that we keep the final line, that we take care of the investors that we're working for, make sure that we'll be very, very sincere and honest, and not be greedy about it. And let's do the right thing by telling it's a good project or a bad project.
Exactly.
So once we get by that phase, so we got the bad ones, we get them out. They're just going to walk away from it. If they take it, then it's on their own risk. That's their due diligence to do in their part. So if they don't want to do it, that's fine. And then if they don't want to go for it because it's a bad deal, well, that's their thing. But if it's a good deal and we go forward for it, then I will start setting things up with them, depending on what they want. They got to know that if it's just a flip, it's more chances are that we can actually do something. And right now in Cash Flow Tribe, they're kind of teaching us just to do like just the lipstick stuff right now because the market's so hot. So right now to put all these big renovations into them, I don't think it's very practical now, especially with the cost of materials and everything else. So I think that would be a big thing that we have to pivot on that market right now, what we're dealing with. And if we do that, I mean, some of them might still need a full flip, as the margins have to be there, right? We got that spread. If we have the spread, then we can go forward with that and do it that way. But the flips will be a lot easier to do, whether it be a whole tail flip or it be a full gut flip, whatever we want to do. Those can still go forward. The thing is that you got to remember that if you're doing legal conversions, these will take a lot more time and more money to do. So most times if you're doing that, it won't be to flip it that way. The best chances are, in my opinion, because I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, I would say that the legal conversions are better off to if you're keeping them.
Mm.
But if you want to flip them, I don't think it's going to be that productive for them to make much money on them because the cost of renovation is going to be so high and the timeline. So there's a return on time and return on investments are both jeopardized. So if you're using that against you, I think that's going to be a little bit trickier for to do those. But if you're keeping them and you want long term, then it's worth doing that.
Mm.
So you just got to know what it is that you want to do with the property that you're going to be doing. And once we figured that out, then I can move forward, do my part, and we get the process started. And as soon as we get results, I keep in touch with the investors to let them know probably once or twice a week, just to keep them in touch with how their project is going. I keep a spreadsheet of all the expenses as we move forward, keep track of all the time cards of all the labors I have, and then the sub trades, whatever receipts they have, I bring that up too. So that way here they see the full cost as we go forward. So they know where we're at and where the money's going. I find that's where I've built my trust and my accountability with my investors so that they know that they can trust me because trust is everything. If you don't have the trust, then don't go in business with them, right? And that's why I worked a lot on that. That's very important to me. And because I want to do long terms, I don't want to do just the one transactional deals because that's just more waste of my time, right? So I'm not saying that one deal might work out and the next three might not, but I mean, at least we're still working together, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, from there, it's just a matter of knowing your homework, right? Do your homework before you buy, because that's where you know what to do with the property once you know what you're buying.
Absolutely. No, that's great.
And
So,
I do come in like for another wholesaler here, Moncton and yourselves and whoever else I want to work with. If they're from Ontario and they know something, they got a property down here, I will definitely go look at the property for you. Give me a call. I'll go take a look at property and I'll give you my honest opinion on it. Whether you want to take my opinion or not, that's up to the investor, but just do your due diligence. Don't just rely on us to give you the full information, but at least do your due diligence. Make sure you have your numbers in place. And the more cautious, the more prepared you are, I think the best chance you are to succeed on any deal you'd get into than if you just go in blind and just play cowboy and just figure I'm going to buy it and we'll see what happens after. Well, you can do it that way. I know some investors do that, but it's a gamble, right? It's risky. So you just got to be well aware that right now we do have like material problems. We do have a lot of things like that for renovations. So you just got to be prepared for that stuff. So I just tell them a ballpark what it costs for materials. And if it goes up, that's the cost plus. That's just going to be what it's going to be, right? I can't control that. No contractor can. And labor wise, I usually am pretty accurate with that. I usually within one job, I can keep the same wages for that one job. The next job might go a little bit higher depending on how things change. But so far, I've been able to maintain that side. And yeah, I mean, it's all about doing your homework.
yeah. No, that's why, we have your contact information on our website as a trusted contractor and also for investor resources because obviously there's so much value in having an amazing contractor, a world-class team, and also by just having a skilled contractor to take a look at their property before they buy it. Because most of
Absolutely.
these properties are off market, there's for sale by owners. So it's very important to do our due diligence.
Absolutely. Due diligence is a very powerful word.
Absolutely. Big time.
Don't just rely on other people. Do your own. Yeah.
This is kind of like the question that we ask every guest that comes onto our show, if you call this a show.
Yeah.
But we just have three questions that we ask every guest. So first of all is, what's your favorite thing about Moncton?
Well, Moncton, the reason I love Moncton is because you got like right now it's a hub city of the Atlantic Canada. So basically everything goes through Moncton. I think that's why we're so popular here in Moncton. It's the biggest for like the jobs are mostly like at the what do you call those call centers. So there's a lot of call center jobs, like mid class jobs, a lot here, a lot like that, and there's a lot of growth in like shopping and a lot of that stuff here. There's a lot of tourism, a lot of stuff like that as well. Myself is that my family's from here, so I grew up here. Like I was born in Massachusetts, but at age of 5 years old, I've been in Moncton ever since. Right, I grew up here, and I went for 7 years back in the States in 2000. I tried my investing over there, and my work was like better pay than here, so it was like great for that. But Moncton for me, it's definitely home because I did live in like in Boston and in Florida, and even though I was over there, there's still something missing when you're not home. Like it's still like it's great. Like you got the nice sunshine and nice beaches and just enjoy life with all the different investments you got down there because it's a lot easier in the States than it is here in Canada, I find. But at the end of the day, like for me, like when I was in Florida, if I my car broke down, I had nobody to call, right? Because I was there by myself. While here, you're home, so when you do call your family or whatnot, I'm broken down in the middle of the highway here. Dad, can you come pick me up? You know what I mean? Like, call me a tow truck. Let's get this thing out of here, right? So you get a lot more like convenience like that when you got family around, stuff like that, and you do love your loved ones, right? So that's why most of my family's here in Moncton. So I call this home, whether I make it a millionaire or not. And I do have houses in Florida at some days, and I intend to invest in Florida back soon, probably this winter if I can get this COVID out of the way. And if not, I'm still going, I think. Depends on how well I do this summer. But if I do very well this summer, I plan on starting investing in Airbnbs in Florida as well. So that way here I'll have a place to stay and still rent it during the winter summertime while I'm working here and then
Great
just
plan.
collect the money. And then when I get there, I got money waiting for me to enjoy myself over there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, home is home for me. And Moncton is it's a growing city. I think it's over surpassed Fredericton, which is the capital of the province. I think we've surpassed them. At least I heard that in grapevines there. I'm not sure exactly where and when I heard that from, but I did hear that we were growing faster than that population in Fredericton. It's because there's a lot more jobs going on here, and it's also a great place to start a small business. There's a lot of small businesses starting here, and they say it's one of the best cities to start off with because it's much more affordable for labor force and basically the cost of living and everything else, right? So they figured that it's a great place. They got a lot of education programs with the government and stuff like that to get into business. It's I think there's a lot of advantages that way for Moncton, and I I think that's pretty much what I can say about Moncton. As far as it's my home, I grew up here, and all my friends and family are here, so I kind of like it here. And it's also a big enough city that you can say that it's like you can have everything convenience like restaurants and shopping and everything that you need to survive. It's actually here, so we do have everything we need. We have our
Everything is
own
close from
airport.
everything.
That's
Everything
that
is close from everything. Everything is 3 minute drive from everything. So that's definitely
exactly right. Ontario is probably like 5 hours to get from one corner to the next, right?
much more safe.
It's
But
like Boston.
let's see if you could describe Mountain in 3 words. What would be your 3 words?
3 words only. Yeah.
It's a very friendly city. There's a lot of like people are friendly here. Like they're not like you got the bad apples here and there, but most people here are very friendly. They're all out courtesy to help each other out. I would say it's a very friendly city to live in. Like everybody's courteous and everybody's like willing to help. And we're still in the old ways a little bit here compared to bigger cities. Because I know in
Yeah.
Boston it's like everybody's cutthroat, everybody, and everybody's like nobody cares, right? But here, and I find in Moncton, I find that there's still some good people here where there are people that want they care about you and they want to help you out and stuff and move forward. And I think that's one thing I like about Moncton the most.
So
The
friendly.
people.
So
Yeah,
good to go.
friendliness. What's that?
You've got friendly. What are the two other words that you would go with?
Oh, I thought it was 3 words. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy, you got one out of three now. Okay. Um, so there's a lot of friendliness, convenience. There's a lot of convenience for everything that's around. So no matter where you live, you're like maybe 15, 20 minutes to get there. So it's very convenient. I know that the Acadians like to party a lot. That helps.
That's fun.
Oh, yeah, so we're like friendly people that like to party. It's very convenient for pretty much anything you want here in Moncton. I think that's the best choice of words I could use for now, like just on the spot. But
So
there's a lot of great things for Moncton to bring value to people to be here. I think there's definitely room for growth. And I know that the immigrations has changed a lot because we're getting a lot of different cultures now compared to what we used to be 20 years ago. 20 years ago was like almost all white people and it was just a basic English and French. Now we're at like a whole new level of different languages, different types of people, which
Beautiful.
as long as they're good people, I don't care. It's not welfare people or basically people that are here to do crimes or whatnot. So if you got the good ones like I find like yourselves, you're investors, right? You got a lot of investors in Cashflow Tribe right now are from different countries and different cultures. Like Ben's from a different one himself. and they're bringing value to our country. So those people are great. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually employ it because most of them are much more friendlier to work with than some others that are local, right? So, because in the old ways is like everybody kind of kept it to themselves, and it's my business, and it's all competitive, right? So they don't want to share anything. But now the new culture that's coming around is like everybody's more into working together now.
Yeah.
I think it's a much better atmosphere. I think that's what was missing from my generation.
Well, the last question, the personal question will be, what's your favorite local business, whether that be a restaurant or a bar that's in Moncton? So if an investor were to come to Moncton for a visit, is there like a favorite spot that you want to take them to?
Me, I would definitely just show them some properties myself. Like that's my
Get right to business.
life. I love to show investors about our market, but
Yeah.
uh, definitely anything that's entertaining. There's a lot of entertaining here, so I would definitely, you know, go for the entertaining. Like I'm sure there's in the wintertime we do have like for July the 1st of July we'd have Canada Day with all the fireworks and all these things. We have the Santa Claus parade that goes on in the wintertime. We do have like all the basic stuff most cities have, um, but there's usually a lot of concerts in the summer times. That's what most people come here during the tourism season. So there's a lot of that. Oh, and also if you do like outside activities like camping, if you like to do like fishing and hunting, and that's very big here. So that's something that would I think that would definitely bring some. That would be a good thing for people to do. Is definitely it's like outdoor stuff. If you like to do four wheeling and ski doing and stuff like that, walk trails, and there's a lot of trails here and stuff like that for nature walks. And there's like Fun Day Park. There's like
Oh,
the
wow.
rocks there. There's a lot of tourism areas like that brings a lot of people here. So I think, yeah, that would be the thing. Yeah,
Awesome. Perfect. So again, like we have for your information, we're recommending you as our trusted
appreciate
contractor
that.
for Moncton. But if our investors want to, get in touch with you personally or have any questions they would like to clarify, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
All right. Well, you can reach me at my phone number, which would be 506-229-4205. Or you can reach me at my email with LeBlanc on Homes, which is the name of my company, at gmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook under my name, Daniel LeBlanc, or LeBlanc Homes. I have both. And you can also reach me at Cashflow Tribe. Definitely on their website. I'm on there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, no, Daniel, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
course,
Every
yeah.
call we have with you, we feel like we're just learning so much.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time.
Yeah, anything I can do to help. I'm one of those persons that I do love helping people. It's something that I'm not all just about the money. Money is important because we need to grow, but at the end of the day, if we just focus on the money, I don't think it's not going to be bringing you true happiness, right? But it's the people you work with and you surround yourself with. I think that's the true wealth there is out there. So if I can help people out and they can help me back in return, or if down the roads it just keeps me busy and keeps me in business, right? And I can help people get good homes and whatnot. I'm happy with that too. So
No, agree.
anything I can do to help. If it's just a question, you can reach out to me, just ask questions. I'll answer them. If you, sometimes I might not be able to answer right away, but I will do try to I'm managing my time a little bit better. So I'm going to be doing better on that. So eventually I will be able to follow up on everything as like I want to. It's getting there. And basically, anything in construction, real estate, like I've done flips, I've done rentals, I've done burrs. Um, so I've done a little bit of land, raw land. I also done basically a couple of development jobs like new homes. So if there's any kind of questions in that world, I'd be more than happy to reach out and help you guys out. And I'm a very friendly guy. I'm not one of those guys that's cranky all the time. I try to smile and just be friendly with people because that's how I'd like to treat people the way I want to be treated.
Yeah.
So I find it's a much more abundance world if we live that way.
Yeah.
That's part of who I am. So
Awesome, Daniel.
Great.
Yeah, no, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Yeah.